Welcome to the North Shore Performance Podcast, where we take a deep dive into health and fitness for everyday people and the athlete in all of us. I am your host, Jake Wirtz, and with me is my best friend and co-host, Tanner Schenkel. Together, we take an honest look at fitness and discuss how anybody can improve their lives by adopting a healthy lifestyle. All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of the North Shore Performance Podcast. Today is the day we are going to be hitting shoulders, boulder shoulders. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be getting big slabs of meaty muscle on your shoulders. Tanner, let's go.
This is the draft. If you're trying to look big in a t-shirt, this is it. Like, you got your chest and your shoulders. We already did chest. So now you take everything that we did in the chest exercise draft, and now you're going to be fully complete with what you learned today in this podcast. This is what's going to make you look gigantic and fill out a 2XL t-shirt.
Also a sleeveless. I mean, if you have big shoulders and you got a sleeveless or a tank top on, they just pop. I mean, You look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You get those bowling ball shoulders, and it's over, man. Ain't nobody going to be coming at you.
Or lots of gym bros going to ask you how you got to look that way. So
true. I would say that's one of the muscles, personally, if you have really well-developed shoulders, that's one of those things. It's like that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of detail, a lot of intentional work to build shoulders the right way. So I find that to be one of the more impressive muscle groups for people to build. And it's also aesthetically, like if you build a wide shoulder, if you build wide shoulders, you kind of have that V taper a little bit more. And that's a lot of times the look that people are looking for aesthetically, especially if you're doing bodybuilding or stuff like, or if you just want to look better, like a lot of times getting wider shoulders, that'll really help with your aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. It's that complete look. I think shoulders, a lot of times, people are lacking. Me personally, I struggle with developing shoulders. Part of it is I don't spend enough time doing them. I kind of do like one or two movements and I move on. But they're important for like depressing motions, but you get the shoulder work in like the bench press and stuff like that. So I kind of tend to move on after that. And I forget or just choose not to do like make them pretty and adding like with some like raises, stuff like that. But today is the day that will change. So I have the number.
And we're talking about too, like the aesthetic of it and the bodybuilder side of it too. But Tanner and I are always going to probably stick to what we know best, the more meathead kind of side of it, not the look pretty, but to lift heavy sort of a thing. So we're probably always going to lean more towards some of the pressing stuff and more of the functional stuff rather than just the stuff that makes them look good. But Tanner has the first pick in this draft. I went first for the last one. So take it away, Tanner. Who you got with the 101?
This is going to be our powerlifter background, compound movement background.
It's the same movement. We both know what it's going to be, right?
Yeah. I'm going with the military press.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yep. So
what do you like about the military press?
It's a very basic pressing movement over your head. I feel like you can add some decent load to it to kind of get that, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. I'm having a brain fart. We're just going to move on. You can just get that. Why can't I think? This is ridiculous. Anyways, military press is probably the best overall compound shoulder movement. You could throw a bench press in there. I feel like that you're more hitting just the front of your delt. For military press, depending on your grip, you can kind of feel a little bit of your lateral delt, and on the eccentric portion of the movement, your rear delt kind of helps slow down. So you're kind of getting more of an all-encompassing approach to your shoulder versus your typical bench press movements. So that's kind of why I think it's far superior as far as like a compound shoulder movement. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I think I would have undoubtedly gone the same direction if I had the 101. Like I said, this is kind of like the bench episode where it's pretty clear what the 101 is in this spot, which coincidentally you had the first pick for that too, but whatever, freaking bullshit. But No, the overhead press is such a great exercise, and it's the same with a lot of these compound exercises that we've already talked about. You can go heavy with this. You can go heavier with these than you can with isolation movements. And that might sound kind of goofy. What, can you not? You got a bad overhead press? Is that what
No,
you're gonna say?
I just remembered the word I was trying to say. It was
What
stimulus.
was it?
Stimulus.
Well, that about wraps up the show, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Tanner figured out the word he was trying to think of. No, but the thing I love about the overhead press, like all these compound movements, is you can kind of go heavier with these than you can with isolation. And it stands to reason, it's just logic that the more you can lift effectively, the more bang for your buck you're going to get, the more you're going to get out of that exercise. And that's not to say heavyweight is always the best way to do it, but if you can lift more weight, you should. That's going to help you 9 times out of 10. So yeah, great overall movement. It's great for your triceps as well. This is another one of those movements where your triceps really have to help lock out. We just got done talking about triceps in the last episode. So if you struggle with the lockout on your overhead press, go and look at our last video or last podcast that we did about triceps and build some thick, meaty slabs of meat. All right. So with the second pick, my first pick in the shoulder draft, I'm going to go with the dumbbell overhead press. And I'm getting this now because I don't want to miss out on some kind of a press. I probably could have waited just to get another overhead press, but the same concept with the military press or the overhead barbell press, we're going to do the same thing here with dumbbells. You can do this sitting, you can do it standing. It doesn't really make a difference. I prefer to do it standing because it takes a little bit more takes some more core stability, and I find it to be more of a whole body exercise at that point. But the same thing as an overhead press. You can go heavy with these. You can do a lot of reps of these if you want and take the weight back a little bit. This is a great overall shoulder builder. This is going to build the front head of the delts the most. It is going to get, like you said, a little bit of the rear delts when you decelerate on that eccentric part of the motion. We're trying to control it on the way down, but it really is going to mostly be like the front delt taking over. And the one advantage that a dumbbell press has over an overhead press with a barbell is the greater range of motion, the freer range of motion. You can take that all the way down right to its natural spot where it starts, and then when you press, you can kind of bring it up and towards the middle. With a barbell, obviously, you don't have the flexibility to do that. You can really get that full extension at the top, where you can't really get that with a barbell sometimes unless you dislocate your shoulder. So with the second pick, I'm going to go with the dumbbell overhead press. Wanted to get a press early so I can focus on some of the fun things afterwards. So with the second pick, and this is probably the first thing people think of when they're thinking about getting these big, impressive shoulders, I'm going to take the lateral raise. And this is going to be completely different than the overhead press in the sense that you want to do lightweight and with a lot of reps with these. And you don't really, to me, I don't think you ever really need to push the weight that much. I think you just want to focus on getting a full range of motion, a great contraction at the top, get a lot of reps in. You're going to feel the burn with this. This is going to burn a lot once you really get good at this. And that's going to really help build the side delt part of your shoulder. And that's really what gives the shoulder kind of a wider appearance. This is what's going to make you look wider in a tank top or a t-shirt. This is one of the classic bodybuilder movements, and I think everybody does these on a regular basis if you're trying to get good shoulders.
Yeah. Are you doing these with a dumbbell just for draft purposes? What's your
I'm going to be doing them with the dumbbell. Yes,
okay.
I feel the dumbbell is probably my favorite variation of this exercise, while other versions also have a lot of merit, but I think that's the one that I do the most, and it's the one I'm the most comfortable with.
For sure. So I'm gonna kind of, I don't know, be cheeky with this because you can only do lateral
Cheeky.
raise a certain way.
Oh,
And
cheeky. We got to throw
so
that NSFW sign up there.
I'm gonna go with cable lateral raises.
Okay.
Same concept, but I mean there's lateral raise, you gotta have them in the shoulder day.
Agreed.
And I don't like to overlap. Usually I try to avoid it, but in this draft particularly, I feel like it's okay if you're doing a different kind of medium, if you will. So I'm gonna do cable lateral raises.
What do you think the benefit is of doing a cable raise compared to a dumbbell raise? Do you think there's any advantages that lift has over it? I have my own opinion, but what's your thoughts on that?
I would think there's two advantages. First one being I feel like you can control it more. And in that case, you can kind of control the time under tension. Um, Personally, I just feel like a dumbbell raising it up and then going down because of the leverage points of like the pulleys and stuff. I feel like the leverages are slightly different, so I can control it a little more. Um, Also, I don't know, you have different attachments, so your grip can be a little different. So
Oh,
um
interesting. I never thought of
just
that.
things like that. Like the other day I saw a guy, he had that like triangle, like you usually use it for like a low roll.
Yeah,
I couldn't figure out how he was gripping it. I think he just put his hand inside and then gripped like the far one and then had the two like handles under his forearm and he was doing
yeah,
lateral raises like that. And it definitely
interesting.
added a different like leverage point too. So I think it just kind of playing with leverages and stuff like that. But I mean, most of the time I do lateral raises and when using a dumbbell, but I'll throw cables in there every once in a while to add something different. Or like I'll do a
Yeah,
superset of some different other shoulder movements with the cables. So
yeah, and I think the other main advantage it has too is it's easier to maintain that consistent tension.
yep.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes with a dumbbell, and you can avoid this. Like you can definitely think about this and really control the eccentric part. But sometimes with the dumbbell, it's easy to let that just kind of drop down, and you lose all the tension. It's like you feel all the tension at the top, and then on the way down, you have none. You just kind of let the weight take over. And you can do that with a cable as well, but I feel like it's a lot easier to be intentional about controlling that tension on the way down. But yeah, no, those are two great exercises: the lateral raise and the cable raise. So what's your next pick?
So my next pick is going to be the incline barbell row. Or not row, sorry, raise. So I like to do this kind of like you do like a spider curl. So you kind of lay with your chest on the incline bench, and then you have a barbell out in front of you, and you kind of grab. I always grab pinky to like I use actual barbell, not an easy bar. Pinky to that far out smooth part in the nerve lane, and you just raise it up and it just hammers your front delts and some of your lateral delts too. That's one of
Mhm.
my favorite kind of shoulder builders. I've been doing a lot lately. It's like one of my go-to.
So it's a front raise, but you're on an incline bench, basically.
Yep. So it kind of takes
Okay.
like sometimes your momentum takes over. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
a steel roll in that way where it takes your momentum out of it and it just a
Mhm.
shoulder movement. And
It's just
like,
like the seal row and the spider curl, like you said. You take all of your momentum out of it. No, I like that a lot. I've never done that personally, but I've seen people do that, and it's a very interesting lift. I like that pick.
yeah, I don't know. I saw it from Garage Strength, I think, and I feel like it's something that you can change how wide your grip is too, to kind of hit all encompassing your shoulder. And
Hmm.
it's just something where you can't really cheat it up. It's you got the strength. Like I can barely do like a 4x8 with just the bar at 45 pounds. So it's like it's not something you need a whole lot of weight to really feel like you get a good workout out of it. So
Yeah. All right. So with my next pick, this is my third pick, I believe. I'm gonna go with the incline reverse fly. So just like what Tanner was just talking about, you straddle the incline bench just like you would with a spider curl or a seal row or anything like that. And instead of doing what Tanner's doing with the barbell, where he's going up with a front raise, I'm going to do a reverse fly. So we're going to be targeting the rear delts with this exercise. And the reason I went with this over the simple bend over rear delt fly, like we just talked about, you take a lot of the momentum out of it. It helps you from cheating. The thing about the rear delt that a lot of people struggle with, and I really struggle with this, is that it's really easy for your traps and your other back muscles to take over, if you're not careful. And I find it's way easier, or it's easier. It's easier for me to have that mind muscle connection with my rear delts when I'm laying on a bench and I'm kind of hanging over the top and I can really focus on my delts doing the work and not letting my traps take over and finish that exercise. And I don't have to worry about momentum because my lower back isn't, I'm not hinging, so I'm not worried about my glutes and my hamstrings getting involved, kind of cheating the weight up, kind of flapping it around. But I think the thing that people need to realize when you work your shoulders is your front delts kind of get hit a lot. You don't need to do a lot of specific front delt exercises. Not that there's no value in them at all, but there's just you hit them a lot with your bench, your incline bench, and then you do an overhead press or something like that. Like you've already hit your front delts a lot at that point. You've already done two big things for your front delts. So I think to really help build well-rounded shoulders and healthy shoulders, it's all these other things. You want to hit the big pressing movement at the beginning, but then I think it's a good idea to hit the side delts and rear delts quite a bit. So the incline reverse fly is my third pick. What do you think of that?
I respect it. I think the rear delts is kind of a fickle lift. It's really hard to kind of target those muscles. And the reverse fly, I think, is one of the easier ways to feel that contraction and kind of get that development. I liked how you talked about like shoulder health as for you're someone who struggled with like shoulder impingement and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's kind of a like you always hear the typical meme like that old guy that comes like back in my day I used to bench 500 pounds and then I threw out my shoulder and it's
I
like
benched 405 back in
yeah
high school. Like that guy does that YouTube guy. I can't remember their channel, but they're funny as heck.
yeah
They're
they got
great. Yeah.
but it's like
405.
you got to take care of yourself. Like you can't just keep lifting heavy. You got to do stuff too to make sure we're taking care of our bodies. And I think doing a lot of accessory movements at a higher volume, kind of get that blood flow, bring the nutrients in, and just work on mobility too at the same time. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think that I like that pick a lot.
And I actually I want to talk about that point you just brought up there just a little bit since we're on the subject. But the name of the game when it comes to training is just staying healthy. Like the longer you can do this, the more consistently you can do this, the less injuries you have, less setbacks you have, the more progress you're going to make. Like just by virtue of being able to go to the gym consistently and not have any injuries or setbacks, you are going to see results. You know what I mean? You're going to see great results if you can just avoid having to take long stretches off because your knees hurt or your back hurts or, like me, my shoulder hurt. That set me back on my bench a really long time, and I'm still not completely back to where I was. I had to really take it down and build a nice foundation again, and then really focus on that mobility and that shoulder health before I could focus on putting a lot of weight on. And that's something I think as gym bros we neglect a lot. It's like if you can do this for 40 years without injury, you're going to have an amazing, amazing physique. You're going to be strong. You're going to be healthy, and you're going to be built out of granite. You know what I mean? Like it's when you get injured and you have these long layoffs, that's when you start to see the really bad backslides.
Yeah, I think Mark Bell, he has a term or like a saying that he's like lived through it. And I think that could be I think the overall message behind it is very good. Like use
Yeah.
lifting to help escape from your troubles, help using it as like a way to think of positive stuff like that. But I also think it could be taken in like a negative context where you're going to live through injuries, you're going to hurt yourself more, you're not allow yourself to recover to get back into the gym. You're going to set yourself back. Um, so I guess that could be a message of this draft is like make sure that you are taking, yeah, you want to be a bro and can eagle lift every now and then, but ultimately you want to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and thinking about longevity. Because eventually you're going to get older until they can find the fountain of youth. It's just going to be the truth. You're gonna get older. Your body's start deteriorating. So it's think about longevity while you're young and can be proactive about it. It's better to be proactive than reactive. So
Yeah. No, one of the best things I've heard about this is like the sooner you realize you should start lifting like an old person, like an old man, the better. Where you're kind of taking it easy and you're not so much ego lifting. Like, yeah, there's gonna be times you want to push the envelope a little bit, but you know, the sooner you realize that you can lift smarter, not harder, the better and the more longevity you're gonna have. But getting back on topic here, so with my fourth pick, I'm kind of in a pickle. I'm kind of thinking really hard about this. That filibuster was really just a way for me to stall. And I was hoping Tanner would talk longer so I could figure out what I was going to do here. Okay. We're going to go with something a little more unique, something I don't do all the time, but it's definitely a lift that has a lot of benefit. I'm going to go with the upright row, but with the cable machine, with the rope cable attachment. Okay. Now, I am very cautious when I throw this one out here. You just outed me. I am a person who's had shoulder impingements, and I've had a lot of issues with my shoulders. But that's why I went with the cable attachment with the rope attachment because as opposed to doing an upright row with a barbell where you're kind of in a fixed position, you can take those ropes and you can kind of pull them out. You can pull them straight up. There's more range of motion. It's a freer movement than with a barbell. But you hit that side delt just like you do with the lateral raise. It's a nice variation to do something different and still hit that side delt piece of it. And you don't need a lot of weight with these. Don't go any higher than your shoulders with your elbows. You start to impinge when you start to go high like this. Like I remember in high school, they used to teach us bring that bar all the way up to your chin. Like I would literally like hit myself in the chin with that bar. And looking back now, like that was so stupid. But do it with the cable, do it with the rope, see what you think. Really control it. That way you don't risk that injury. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the cable upright row with my fourth pick. You looked kind of upset there when I picked that. Why?
Yeah, you sniped me. That was not where I
Yeah,
was going.
let's go. Snipe. Now Tanner's the one in a bind.
Yeah, I have to reevaluate. Hmm.
Tanner Schenkel is on the clock. Damn, the silence is killing me, bro. Let's go.
I
Just
don't have a
pick.
filibuster to.
Yeah, I really stalled that one, didn't I?
I'm going to go with face pulls. There
Oh,
was
good
two,
pick.
yeah,
Very
there's
good pick.
two movements I was debating on, but I think ultimately you throw like the rope attachment on some cables and you like this versus here, and you kind of twist. So you twist externally. When you pull back, I feel like I can get a decent contraction. It's not something you have to load with a lot of weight because again, you're kind of focused on volume and
No.
contraction. But yeah, I think that's the route I'm going to go. I'm confident now. At first, I was like, I don't like it, but I talked myself into it. So we're going to go face pulls.
Yeah, I was actually in a spot where if I wasn't going to go with the upright row, that was probably going to be my next pick. I just hit rear delts with my reverse fly, so I didn't really wanted to go that way. But the face pull is a great exercise. This is one that's really great for shoulder health. Like you said, you take it light, you take it slow, you take it through the full range of motion, you get that external rotation at the top. And what that means, if you're watching on YouTube, you take that rope just like this, and when you come back, you're trying to get that full rotation to the back. You're not just pulling towards your face, you're pulling towards your face and back. It's a full range of motion. Like we said, you don't need a lot of weight, but this is a really good exercise for shoulder health and shoulder longevity. So yeah, I'm really glad Tanner included this. I wanted to find a way to sneak it into this video, but didn't have to try that hard. So Tanner, I think you're up again with your last pick.
I am. I'm going to go
Was that a
with
long enough filibuster?
yeah, yep. I kind of knew where I was going after with I went face pulls. I could go with two different
Yeah.
routes. But I think I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna do a cable inverted front raise. So I like to take like just a simple cable handle, and instead of like your normal like front raise, you're gonna have your palm facing down. I like to invert my grip, and then
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you get a little upper chest too into it. Um, I really like that. I like to superset that with lateral raises. Is kind of what I touched on when I talked about doing cable. And the
Yep.
difference. That's one of the supersets I like to do. But yeah, that's where I'm going. So inverted front raise on the cables.
All right. And with my last pick, the last pick in the shoulder draft, I'm going to go with the overhead carry. You can do this with the kettlebell. You can do this with dumbbell. I like to do it with the kettlebell because it's a little bit more challenging. And this is a really non like traditional shoulder exercise when you think about it in purposes of just like building big shoulders. But again, I think this is a really challenging exercise. It forces you to work on your stability in the shoulder. And I really like finishing my workouts with some kind of movement where I'm actually moving through space. Legs, I like doing lunges or pushing a sled. Anything with the back, I like to do farmer carries. I just like exercises that make me have to walk in the gym and really focus on my posture as well as whatever motion I'm like, whatever the movement is that I'm doing. So, for example, with this one, we're going to go with the kettlebells. You're going to basically put the kettlebells in your palm, you're going to clean them up and press them. You're going to walk with your arm straight up over your head the whole time. You're not going to lock your elbows, but you're going to keep your arms up. And you take that nice and slow with your chest up, great posture. It doesn't take a lot of weight, but if you walk the whole length of the gym and back, you don't need a lot of weight, but your shoulders are going to burn so bad. They're going to burn and you're going to feel so shaky by the end of it that even if you only have 10 or 15-pound kettlebells, you won't believe how sore you are from this. I find this to be a great exercise for your posture, as well as when you're at the top of a press, either dumbbell or barbell overhead press. This is really going to help you kind of balance and be stable in that position. you know, we always think about like we want to do these big heavy movements to try to build a lot of muscle and a lot of strength, but these kind of accessory movements, they're really nice for building those main movements. And the nice, so if you do a lot of overhead carries, you're going to be a lot more stable at the top of your press, which is going to mean a that's a safer lift for you in general. So you're probably going to be able to do more weights or be more proficient at it. But it's also going to like promote health, shoulder health, like we just talked about. You're going to be able to do this longer. You're going to be able to press longer. You're going to have less shoulder issues. So I threw that in the end. I thought it was kind of unique. I wanted to get away from the presses and the raises and stuff like that. But I'm really glad I got this here with my last pick. This is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, that might be the best pick of the draft. I'm not gonna lie. Because it kind of touched on the theme that we kind of went on rants
Mr.
about.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, that was the Brock Purdy of last year's draft. Like that was
Big Dick Brock Purdy.
yeah,
Let's
that
go.
was a great pick. It didn't even come on my big board, didn't even think of it, but as soon as you said it, I'm like, son of a bitch, that's a great pick. So
That's right. Yeah. I
well done,
feel good
sir.
about
Well
that one.
done. Well done. To
All
wrap it
right.
up,
Well,
oh,
go ahead.
well, to wrap it up here, I'll just quick go over what players are on my team here. We
All
got the
right.
tried and true military press, cable lateral raises, incline barbell raise. So it'll be like a front raise, face pulls, and then we're gonna wrap it up and we're gonna do some high volume with the inverted front raise on the cable machines.
Yep. And with my team, I've got the dumbbell overhead press, lateral raise, reverse, I guess, incline reverse flies, cable upright rows, and then the overhead shoulder carry. So that's my team. Guys, let us know who had the better draft. I think it's kind of obvious, but let's just call it fair, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just let us know who had the better draft. Please leave a like, a comment, subscribe. Just tell somebody about our growing channel. We're trying to grow our business and grow this channel as much as we can. We really want to provide a value to everybody who's watching this and listening to this. So if you got something useful out of this, just let us know, drop a comment. We got like a little gang of guys that listen to this podcast in our Snapchat group. You know who you are. Caleb, you a real one, homie. You're my homie. So yeah, why don't you take us on out here, Tanner?
As always, remember no excuses.
No regrets. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.